Welcome to this day in Philly sports history for June 26, 2024. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Wednesday edition of the podcast. Happy hump day to everyone out there. And if you did not get to listen to the audio podcast yesterday, I apologize. There were some issues with the, I don't know if it was Spotify or what it was, but I just could not get it to upload. It spent most of the day in draft state. I finally was able to get it to upload around 4:30 yesterday afternoon. So if you did not get a chance to listen to the audio podcast, again, I apologize. We were having some technical difficulties, but the YouTube video was up. So I always say the best way to stay in the loop is to subscribe to the YouTube channel, and you'll be good to go. That's a Jimbo_Mont. While you're there, follow me on my social media, Jimbo_Mont at Twitter and TikTok, at Philly Jimbo on Instagram, and I am on all Facebook, LinkedIn, you name it. So any way you can get in, but I do apologize if you were not able to get to listen to the audio yesterday. It did post, but not until later in the afternoon. I always like to get it up usually during the week before I start work at 7:30. However, usually even on the weekends by 9. So if you ever run into issues like that, head over to the YouTube channel. The video will be there as well. All right, let's start with a recap of yesterday's Ultimate Philly Sports Nickname Tournament matchups. Excuse me. And out of the Schuylkill region, no real surprise here. Dr. J ran away with it, 92% of the vote over the Camden Buzzsaw. He will be moving on to the second round, so the 2 seed is still alive. And as I mentioned yesterday, he was borderline a 1 seed, and some people will say it's the greatest nickname in Philly sports, but we will find out in a few short weeks. And then in our other matchup out of the Ben Franklin region, World Be Free defeated B West by 76-24. And I wanted to mention this because a few people brought this up. Yes, World Be Free did legally change his name in 1981 to World. However, it was a nickname, and since this is a Philly sports nickname tournament, while he played for the Sixers, his nickname was World. He was still considered Lloyd when he played for the Sixers. But thanks for everyone quite a few people actually reached out about that yesterday. Just asking if that was done on purpose. But yes, I know that he changed his name legally. And truthfully, he may have been ranked a little higher had he not legally changed his name to World. But when he played the bulk of his Sixers career, his nickname was World. So that is why he's in the tournament. But thank you to the Eagle Eye listeners and viewers out there who brought that to my attention. So Dr. J out of the Schuylkill and World Be Free out of the Ben Franklin are moving on to the second round of the tournament. We'll have 2 big matchups again later today. Some heavy hitters today taking the court. All right. It is draft day. Happy draft day. The NBA offseason officially starts today. The Sixers have the number 16 pick tonight. There are a lot of variables and things in play. So it's hard to get a read on like a mock draft like you would in the NFL, just because the lottery is just so fluid. And this isn't necessarily one of the stronger top-heavy drafts in recent memory, but the Sixers should be able to get a good player. And as I said before, the later first round picks have been expected to contribute more, and usually they're more polished players. So they hopefully should be able to get somebody who can compete right away. I still would not be surprised, though, if somehow there's a trade in the works where that 16 pick goes somewhere else and the Sixers end up getting a player who can contribute. But if they stay in the 16th pick, it's not the first time they've had the 16th pick. It has happened 5 times previously. First time they had the 16th pick in 1979, they took Jim Spanarkel. Yes, that Jim Spanarkel played for the Sixers. In 1991, they had the 16th pick and traded him. Did the same thing in 2002, and we'll get more into that one later in the show. 2008, they took Maurice Spates. Yeah, remember him? And then in 2011, they took Nick Vukovic, who ended up being a solid player and was traded away in the whole Andrew Bynum fiasco. So it's not unprecedented for the Sixers to have the 16th pick. They've not had very good luck, whether it's through trade or through the pick. Vucevic actually wasn't a bad pick. They just gave up on him too soon. And then Andrew Bynum's bum knees kind of hurt them. But anxious to see what the Sixers do tonight at number 16. Always liked the NBA draft, and I remember going back as I go through my time hop every morning, and as I've been going back to that whole process era, there was just so much excitement every year for the Sixers, and it just never panned out. But we'll get more into NBA draft later in the show. But the Sixers picking number 16 tonight. I would not be surprised in the least if they trade the pick for a player who can start right away. But we'll see. There'll be must-see TV. The Phillies are cooperating. They're playing in the afternoon today, so it'll be all Sixers tonight. But again, it's not the best NBA draft. But hopefully they can get a player that can start out of it. There's more details on the Matvei Mishkov situation. He spoke yesterday, and one of the major impacts and factors into him deciding to opt out of his contract in the KHL was that he wants to honor his father. It was always a dream of his father and for him to come over and play in the NHL. And due to his tragic passing, he wants to completely honor. And both Mishkov and the KHL really think it'd be in his best interest. I thought this little clause was interesting, and we talked a lot about how the KHL club wanted to make sure he wasn't going to the AHL or playing minor league, that he was going to play for the Flyers in the NHL. And if for some reason he does not, and he goes anywhere overseas to play, his team in the KHL retains his right. So it's not like he can break out of there, say, oh, I want to play in Sweden. If he's not playing in the NHL, he's playing for that KHL team. But I really, really am looking forward to this whole situation because, to me, he's going to be motivated, and I think that's what the Flyers need. And I'm anxious to see what they do Friday night to start building a team around him. All right, the Phils. And every now and then in 162 games, you're going to get some duds. And last night certainly was a dud. Pretty much a pitcher's duel. The offense couldn't get much going against Schuylkill, and that's okay. He's a Cy Young. He's the favorite for the Cy Young in the American League. Ranger was okay. Some spotty defense by the Phillies kind of hurt him. Gave up the Little League 4-run inning, but he was pretty sharp the rest of the way. I think they said it was the first time since April that his ERA has been over 2. Looking to take that series. We talked about the series and wanting to win 30. So if they take that series today, no harm, no foul. But are you worried that to me, what I saw yesterday in that game was pretty much what has doomed the Phillies the past 2 years. And as you get into the playoffs, the pitching is going to be better. So that does concern me a little bit. And I know Ranger went toe-to-toe with him, and there was some questionable, like I said, defense and just things. They didn't really hit Ranger that hard, per se. It was just they were hitting where the defense, like a Little League team. But let me know, and this, we're not doing the questions of the day, but are you starting to get a little worried about this team that if they face good pitching, and maybe, hey, it's still June, maybe I'm overreacting to it, and maybe I have PTSD from the past 2 off seasons, but watching a game like this today, I don't know. But I will say, as this has happened this season, they usually bounce back, so I look for them to bounce back. It's a bullpen game for the Tigers today. I do, if you're betting, I do like the Phillies today, and I kind of like their team total. I haven't looked at it, probably around 4.5. I do like the over in the team total too if you want to bet. But Spencer Turnbull returns to the starting rotation today, and it should be a good one. I'll have it set up over here as I finish up work, and then I'll put it on as I go to the gym this afternoon. One thing I wanted to mention about the the Tiger Stadium. I like how they play Still Dre after outs and everything like that. And I found myself, I was paying attention more to what the organist was doing, and it wasn't really the organ. He was playing the actual songs, but there was a lot of 90s hip hop that they were playing, which I kind of dig. But now, when you're watching the game today, you'll be able to hear Still Dre, the little piano riff at the beginning in there. And now, this is a funny story. A Mets blogger, of course it's a Mets blogger, says that Phillies fans are ruining the All-Star voting experience for everyone else because they're just voting everyone in. And the fact that Johan Rojas is one of the leaders in the outfield, even though he's down in the minor leagues, he's like, it's a joke. Kudos for them for getting out and voting, but he's ruining it for everyone else. And to that I say, Major League Baseball ruined it when they allowed the fans to have so much of a say. And I'm not saying I don't hate it, but it's the All-Star game. That's who people want to see. And if you don't want to see a bunch of Phillies in the All-Star game, then get your ass out there and vote every day just to make sure that the Phillies aren't represented. You can say a lot of things about Phillies fans or Philly fans in general, but one thing is they will go out of their way to support their team. We will rip our players. It's kind of like the whole Mama Bear thing. I'll rip my players nonstop, but don't you as an outsider come and rip my players and tell me what I should do as a fan because you don't want to do it. So, Philly fans, I'm going to vote like 100 times today just because this Mets fans did it. And truthfully, if you know anything about Philly fans, dude, you just made it even worse. The Phillies might have the starting 9 now in the All-Star game thanks to you running out and doing that blog. And Johan Rojas, even though he's in AAA, might be the starting center fielder. So good job on that. But it's a joke. I mean, it's the All-Star game. It's what the fans want to see. So if the fans are voting the Phillies in, and it's not like the Phillies are a last-place club, they have the best record in the National League. So I don't know. Way to just poke that sleeping bear, dude. But, oh well. And the last thing on the other night, the triple play. I didn't even mention that yesterday. It was a very rare triple play, the old 1-3-5 triple play. First time that triple play has happened since 1929, which just is crazy. And I mean, it was a good play. I don't know what the runner on third was thinking, but hey, it helped quelch any rally that the Tigers were having. But the Phillies look to win that series this afternoon. I think it's a 110 or 135 start for them. So let's just take this series, move on, and then I think they come home for a weekend set against the Marlins. 4th of July is coming. You're running out of time to get your 4th of July shirt from Philly Goat, the British Blue, a 13-colony lead. But even if it doesn't come in time for 4th of July, it's a great shirt. So go get the Britain Blue 13-colony lead, get some Schmitties to match it. Those shoes are comfortable. I can't talk to you enough about the shoes. I'm actually wearing them right now. They're kind of like my house shoes now because that's how comfortable they are. So go to phillygoat.com, use the promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off your order. Be sure to use that promo code and not the one they give you, only because the Jim Montgomery one helps out the podcast. I know as soon as you go into their website, they offer you 10%, but use Jim Montgomery because that helps us out here. And then Ryan gets very happy when I give him business. There is a big announcement coming. I don't know what it is, but it involves John Kruk, so it should be good. Stay tuned for that. I think we're all starting to get antsy, but Ryan's been doing a good job teasing it. So go to phillygoat.com. Check out, and if you are a new listener, go check out anything Philly Goat has on their website. They have a ton of great stuff, Philly sports related. So check it out. Use that promo code Jim Montgomery and help us out, help yourselves out, and you won't be disappointed. All right, it is Sixers draft day, and there was a couple different ways I was going to go with this, but the Sixers have picked on June 26 multiple times throughout their history, more so in recent history too. So since 1990, I went back to, because previously as the NBA expanded their playoffs, the draft date used to be earlier. So since 1990, there have been 6 NBA drafts on June 26. And here's who the Sixers picked. They've had, I think, kind of mixed results. In 1991, when they had the 16th pick, they traded to Golden State, who took Chris Gatling, and the Sixers were just in purgatory around the early 90s. Like, that was near the end of Barkley's career here. They weren't really making the playoffs, and they just didn't have any future because they had no draft picks. So that happened in 1991. 1996 might have been the greatest draft pick in Sixers history. They had the number 1 overall pick, and they took Allen Iverson out of Georgetown, one of the greatest players to ever play the game, arguably one of the top 3 Sixers ever, one of my favorites of all time. But that draft, listen to this, and I figured I'd just mention this since it's NBA draft day. That draft was loaded with Hall of Famers. You had Iverson at number 1, then Ray Allen, Kobe Bryant, Steve Nash, all went to the Hall of Fame in that draft, and they were all first-round picks. So not a bad draft at all. 2002, they had the number 16 pick, as I mentioned, and they traded it. Ended up getting the number 26 pick. I think the Spurs ended up with the 16th pick, took Uri Welsh. The Sixers ended up with PW's own Plymouth White Marsh's Johnny Simons, and out of Miami, and had an okay career. But again, the Sixers were just so bad at that point. Like, they had nothing. It was after Larry Brown left. But John Simons definitely was a fan favorite around here, being from Philly and then going to Plymouth White Marsh. The next year, they did not have a first-round draft pick in 2003. They had traded it to Boston, who ended up trading to Memphis. 2008, we already mentioned, they had drafted Maurice Spates at 16. It's just ironic that we had 3 16th picks on June 26th. I don't know if you're a numbers person or whatever, but just kind of funny how that worked out. And then the second probably greatest draft pick in Sixers history happened on 2014. They had the number 3 pick, and that was when they took one Joel Embiid out of Kansas. And I think it's still to be determined how he finished out. Likely going to be in the Hall of Famer, but still a legacy, I guess you could say, in question. What's his legacy going to be? We don't know yet, but those are the Sixers draft picks on June 26th. Kind of a mixed bag. You have AI and Joe, who are 2 of the greatest to ever play for the Sixers. And then you have a lot of just trades for really nobody. And then you throw Maurice Spates and John Simons in there. I don't know. Hopefully this is more Joel Embiid, Allen Iverson type than Maurice Spates. But we will see tonight. But on this day, June 26th, the Sixers have had a lot of draft picks and a lot of opportunities to make their team better. 91, 96, 2002, 2003, 2008, and 2014. They had draft picks on June 26th. And that is this day in Philly sports history. If you have any thoughts on the draft, get them into me. 267-495-8531. That's the Back to the Future voice and text line, and that will get you in. But now it is time for today's Ultimate Philly Sports Nickname Tournament matchups. We're going back to the Schuylkill region today, and a matchup between the number 1 seed and the number 16 seed. The number 1 seed, Concrete Charlie, taking on number 16, the Owl without a vowel. Little homerism there. So let's talk about Concrete Charlie. Chuck Bednarik, he is the definition of an old school football player. One of the last to go and play both ways, offensively and defensively. He played linebacker and center. And everybody talks about his linebacking and how he was a hard hitter and things like that. But at one point, he was considered the greatest center to ever play the game as well. He is the number 2 overall seed in this tournament. Just got edged out by Chocolate Thunder. I had a strong case for Concrete Charlie to be the number 1 seed, but Chocolate Thunder got it. But back to Bednarik, he was a Bethlehem, PA native, LV to all you LV folks out there. He was an All-American at Penn. two-time NFL champion with the Eagles. A lot of people forget that he was on the 1949 team as a rookie. And then after that, it just gets ridiculous. 10-time All-Pro, 8-time Pro Bowler. His number 60 is retired by the Eagles. He's on the NFL All-50th, 75th, and 100th anniversary team. He's in the College and Football Hall of Fame and was a World War II vet to boot. And you might be wondering about the nickname Concrete Charlie. I always thought it was because of the way he played. He was just a tough son of a bitch and just did his thing. But no, not only was he a Hall of Famer on both sides of the ball pretty much, in the offseason he worked as a concrete salesman, so that's why they called him Concrete Charlie. Never knew that, but I do think the nickname Concrete Charlie fits his style of play as well. So that is why he was the number 2 overall seed and our number 1 seed out of the Schuylkill. He's taking on the Owl without a vowel, Bill McVee. And Bill was a 1951 All-American at Temple. He led the country in scoring with 29.2 points per game. He has Temple's record for most points in a game at 73 against Wilkes University. His number 20 hangs in the rafters at the Liacouras Center. Now, as good as he was, you might be wondering why he didn't play in the NBA. Well, he was drafted territorial pick by the Philadelphia Warriors. Played 1 year, and then general manager, coach, and /coach Eddie Gottlieb made him choose because while he was playing, he was still in dental school at Temple, and Gottlieb was just like, yo, dude, you either have to pick the NBA or dental school. Well, Bill chose dental school. So he finished up, ended up enlisting in the Army, spent 6 years as a dentist in the Army, served over in Korea as the dentist over there. You have to respect that. And that is part of the reason why he made this list. That and the fact that he's one of the best to ever play at Temple. His nickname obviously comes from his last name literally having no vowels in it. MLKVY, Bill Milkvey. So the Owl without a vowel is our number 16 seed out of the Schuylkill region. He is taking on Concrete Charlie in an extremely tough matchup for poor Bill. It was the luck of the draw, but I look at Bill McVee as one of those guys like a 16th seed that got into the tournament with a losing record and is just happy to be there. All right. The other matchup is out of the Cheesesteak region, and in honor of him being drafted today, we are going with the number 3 seed, The Answer, and he is taking on the number 14 seed, Homerun Baker. So let's go with Allen Iverson first, the 3 seed out of the Cheesesteak region. Everybody says AI, and that is what most people will call him on a regular basis. That, yes, is a nickname, but it's just his initials. But he is the answer. And AI, of course, has a different meaning today. He also had the nickname Bubba Chuck from when he was a kid. But the answer, believe it or not, when Allen Iverson first got to Philly, he only had one tattoo, and it was a picture of a bulldog with the answer written over top of it. And a family friend gave him that nickname, and there was kind of some confusion on where it came out, but the consensus was that he called him that because at the time Georgetown was struggling and kind of a local team to where he was in Hampton, Virginia, and the family friend said, "You are the answer to Georgetown's problems," and it just kind of stuck from there. He certainly was the answer to the Sixers' problems when they drafted him number 1 on this day in 1996. So it was a very appropriate nickname for him. He was a fan favorite. My favorite Sixer of all time is Allen Iverson. His number 3 is also retired. The MVP, 11-time All-Star, 7 of them in Philly, 4-time scoring champ. My favorite all-time Allen Iverson moment, it was the step over on Tyronn Lue, which just gave me another idea for next year's tournament, Top Philly Sports Moments. Stay tuned for that one. But then he always did the ear thing, and me being a huge Hulk Hogan fan who sometimes has a couple drinks and will do a Hulk Hogan impersonation, always loved that one. But then Reebok, his shoes were called The Answer. With the exception of the first one, they were called The Question, but all his subsequent shoes after that were called The Answer, so he totally bought into it, and to me, he was the answer to the Sixers' problems. He is taking on the 14 seed Homerun Baker. John Franklin Baker, better known as Frank, was a third baseman for the Philadelphia Athletics. He played from 1908 to 1914 in Philly before going to the Yankees. Won 3 World Series in Philly. They were the first titles ever won professionally in Philadelphia. And fun fact for everyone out there, the team with the most championships in Philadelphia sports history, the Philadelphia Athletics. They have 5 to the Eagles' 4. He led the American League in home runs 4 times. Got the nickname as a rookie when he hit 3 home runs in his first couple games. They started calling him Home Run, and it stuck after that. And he was a clutch player, too. He hit 2 game-winning home runs in the 1911 World Series. But Frank Baker, also known as Home Run, is the 14th seed in our Ultimate Philly Sports Nickname Tournament. And it kind of is sad. Hopefully the Eagles can overtake the Athletics as a team that doesn't even exist anymore, has the most championships all time in Philly. Man, didn't want to get depressed on a Wednesday, but sheesh. Anyway, back to the tournament. Now it is your turn. Who of our matchups today has the best Philly sports nickname? Out of the Cheesesteak region, you have the number 3, the answer, Allen Iverson, taking on the number 14 seed, Homerun Baker. And then out of the Schuylkill, you have the number 1 seed, Concrete Charlie, taking on the number 16 seed, the Owl without a Vowel. Get your votes in anywhere you can. You can call or text the Back to the Future voice and text line 267-495-8531. That'll get you in. Get that and anything else Philly sports related off your chest. Do you want to talk about the Sixers draft? You want to talk about Mishkov? Are you worried about the Phillies? Get all of that off, but be sure to get your votes in for either Concrete Charlie or the Owl without a Vowel. And then our other matchup, the answer versus Homerun Baker. Text me, call me, send a smoke signal, hit me up on social media, Jimbo_Mont, Twitter and TikTok, at Philly Jimbo on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. Email me if you want to do that too. Go really old school. I don't have a fax number, but if you want to send a fax or a Western Union letter, you can do that as well. Just make sure it's in by tomorrow morning before I record tomorrow's podcast. But on this day, back in 1996 or 91, 96, 2002, 2003, 2008, and 2014, the Sixers had draft picks. And kind of with mixed results, but they did end up with AI and Joel Embiid, who were both drafted on this day in 1996 and 2014, respectively. Phils look to take the series against the Tigers today. But let me know, are you concerned at all? Looking forward, though, to seeing what the Sixers do tonight. Watching that game early, and then it's all NBA draft tonight. I cannot wait. Be sure to get your votes in for the Ultimate Philly Sports Nickname Tournament. Concrete Charlie versus the Owl without a Vowel. And then the answer takes on Homerun Baker. Get your votes in. Have a good Wednesday, too. It's going to be warm again today. Might make a trip to the pool. I got some work to do around the house, but it might be a good day to just go to the pool and have a beer or two. But go have yourselves a Wednesday. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History for June 26, 2024. I'm Jim Montgomery. And until next time, I'll see you when I see you.